Okay, here we go again with another quick little video. Had a couple friends asking me about how I do this. Like for example, like this is one of my all-time favorite software to use for editing photos. And then, of course, I love my old games like this, SimCity 2000. Then I got racing games, and people always ask me, well, how do you play that stuff? I try installing it on my Windows 10 and it won't work and blah blah blah. Well, you can't. It won't work. This software is 15, 20 years old. It's not gonna work on Windows 10. Some of this won't even work on Windows XP or Windows 7. It was meant for Windows 98. You look right on the box. It even says that right there. For Windows 95, 98, 2000. This is not, it's still good software, but it's not going to work on Windows 10. But there are a couple of options out there. The first one, I've dabbled with it. Let's see, I gotta move this here. Hold on here. There we go. You can do this. You can set up what's called a virtual machine. There's a lot of different ones out there. There's VMware, VirtualBox. I'm using VirtualBox as an example. Basically, it's just a pretend computer inside a computer is all it is. But when it comes to gaming and some programs, in my personal opinion, I find it to be very finicky and not very compatible. It's just not, it's not there yet. I mean, it kind of works, and you do have to go through all the trouble of installing the operating system. I mean, it's just like building a computer, but you're just doing it in a pretend world. It does kind of work. See, I got Windows 10 running in the background, and but when it comes to games and stuff, I find that the video drivers and sound drivers and stuff can be very, very, very finicky. You can kind of make it work, but it's just not quite, what it should be, I mean, if you want to take the time and really dabble with it, you can kind of make it work, but in my opinion, I've never been real successful with it. Let's see, whoops, I forgot how to shut this down here. There's another good, I was going to show you something here. If you want to learn more about that, I'd go on YouTube and go to LGR channel, and it says choosing a retro gaming PC. He talks about the pros and cons of using virtual machines or building your own computer. It's a good video. It's about a 30-minute video.
Greetings and welcome to an LGR thing. Today I would like to answer a very broad topic. It's a question or set of questions that I get asked all the time ever since I've started LGR, and that is, what classic computer should I buy?
But yeah, that's definitely a good video to watch on that. And then when it comes to the virtual box, a good video to watch on how to set it up. And like I say, this is the best I've gotten, but even this setup is still very picky. It just doesn't quite work. But if you want to set up a Windows 98 virtual machine, I would go to a channel called Navets, and he talks about Windows 98 VirtualBox, how to properly set it up, get the full 32-bit graphics, all that good stuff, how to install patches, but boy, there's a lot of settings, and it's a lot of messing around, and even then it doesn't work perfect. So yeah, so you can do it, but in my opinion the other way is better. So this is just my opinion, of course. For best compatibility and authenticity, you're better off figuring out, I guess it depends on the game and the software you're trying to run, fix up an old computer that it originally was meant to run on. When it comes to like Windows 98 and Windows XP days, I find what works best, and you don't have to go all out like in my previous videos. I mean, I built things to the max. Old workstations like the old IBM, I guess like the old Think Centers, them really work good. What you want to look for is that sticker right there. Pentium 4s seem to work the best. They work good for both 98 and XP, and they're usually built pretty good. I mean, you get plenty of power out of them. Sometimes you lack video processing power. You know, you got to add a video card for some of the higher graphic games back in them days. But yeah, anything with a Pentium 4, you know, even these old E-machines, the processors are a little slow, but they'll still handle you know, a lot of your older retro games, especially if you're just trying to play the old DOS, Windows 98 games. Them usually don't take a whole lot of processing power. But there's always friends or, you know, family members. Somebody's always got an old clunky computer in the basement or in the attic, you know. As you can see, I've collected a few over the years. The old Dell machines, you know, there's, you know, if you do some digging and looking, eBay, you know, there's plenty to go around. You know, like this one's a Pentium 3 I just built. Basically, you just got to do a little research, and the parts are usually fairly cheap. So, I don't know, just in my opinion, it just works better. You know, I got one running here as an example. This is an old Pentium. It's either Pentium 2 or Pentium 3 slot 1. You know, it's got the old Sound Blaster card. That works really good for like playing games like Duke Nukem, you know, stuff like that. And it's just, I don't know, it just seems to work better. But that's just my opinion. And you can do some modern upgrades to it. Like my previous videos, I try to avoid mechanical hard drives whenever I can. Because, you know, on these old computers, this is usually the first thing to go. This is usually the first thing that wears out. So I try to replace them with either an SSD, or you can buy, it's kind of hard to see in this one, that's got an SD card to IDE adapter, so you can use that's an SD card there. I think it's 32 or 64 gigabyte SD card. So that's actually the hard drive, and that really speeds things up, keeps it stable. Another thing I always recommend upgrading, I didn't do it on this one, is use a newer power supply. The connectors are pretty much the same. There's a lot of connectors you don't use. I guess I could use this one as an example. This is an older motherboard with a newer style power supply. Like I say, there's just a lot of cables that you don't use, but it's all backwards compatible anyway. So, but yeah, if you want to play them old games and run that old retro hardware, this is kind of what you got to do. At least this is what works for me. You know, so that's your options. Anyway, that was just a quick little video to answer some of my other friends' questions. You know, they keep asking me, how do you run all that old stuff? Well, that's how you do it. You just got to get an older computer and fix it up a little bit. And it usually doesn't take much. Blow the dust out of them and installing the operating system and all that good stuff. And then also I get people who ask me, well, where do you get all that old, how do you get Windows 98 or XP or even some of the old games and software? Well, a lot of the old software I already had. I've purchased it legally many years ago. But a lot of people don't have that stuff anymore or lost the CD. Like me, I'll admit it, I could not find my original Windows 98 CD anymore. I still got XP, ME, but I could not find my 98 second edition. Either it got broke or lost or who knows. This is where it's kind of a gray area, or some might say it's a gray area. In my opinion, it isn't. Windows 98, in my opinion, is what do they call it? It's so out of date to me. It's freeware. It should be, but Microsoft might not think so. But if you go to archive.org, you can download an ISO image of Windows 98 second edition, and you just download that ISO. What an ISO image is, it's a pretend CD image, and you can take that ISO and burn yourself an actual CD. And if you read in the comments, people even give you a number, a product key number, you know, because it's one of the hurdles you run into. You don't have the number to get it to go, but there it is. Just install it like you did back in them days, and it works. And then people are like, well, I heard it's not safe on the internet, and that's true. You don't want to go on the internet with these old operating systems. The only reason you're installing and running these operating systems is to play your old games and software. You don't want to be going on the internet, and in most cases you can't go on the internet. The browser's not compatible with the newer internet. So basically you're just setting this computer up, not hooking it to your network. It's a standalone machine to run your old software and games, and that's it. So I guess my best advice is, if you want to learn more about this stuff, Google is your friend. Do some research. Say, hey, I want to run this software. I want to learn how to build a retro gaming PC, and there's a lot of YouTube channels and tutorials out there on how to do it. LGR is a good one. Phil's Computer Lab, I forgot to add that one on the channel here. Let's see if I can find him here for you quick. Let's see here, Phil's. He's got a lot of good tutorials on how to build. There, right there, Ultimate Windows XP Retro Gaming. There's a good one. Building DOS. I mean, he goes back even earlier than I like to go back. The earliest I've ever needed to go back is Windows 98. But he goes back to Windows 95 and then back in the old DOS 3.1 days. Yeah, this is a good build right here. Building a 4-in-1 retro gaming. That's a really good video. It tells you step by step, you know. There he's just showing how it works.
K6 3 Plus in order to be able to change the CPU multiplier on the fly through software. And that will work in Windows as well as in DOS.
But yeah, he does some really good videos, step by step, what you may run into, what's compatible with what. So that's another good channel to watch. Anyway, I think that's good enough for now. Anyway, that's what this video is. Virtual machine versus a real machine, more or less. And like I say, in my opinion, I prefer the actual real hardware. So, alrighty, I guess that's the end of this video. So, Bye for now.